So I think we're live.
Maybe we should throw it into, hang on, I'll just throw it into the CityGym group, maybe. Because we're on our own.
Yeah, it's already gone live, so fuck it.
But as in, like,
Yeah.
I'll throw the link to the stream.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. To the 5 people watching right now, we have no idea what we're doing, so you're in for
Is
a
there
ride.
5? Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, it's 5. Yeah, it's mental. I thought we were gonna get 5 over the course of fucking quarantine. That's cool. Jesus Christ, lads. Sweet. So here we go. Hope Alex can make it. Yeah, apparently Alex is having trouble with Zoom, guys. So we'll figure this out as we go. And I think the chat is working. So I think we're ready to go as we are. Okay, so we kick off anyway without Alex, and I think he's going to try and get Zoom to work on his phone, and he'll join us in a minute. But yeah, so hi guys. This is going to be the start of a sort of content project for CityGym powerlifting for the course of lockdown, just to try and keep providing value, I suppose, over the course of this period in whichever way we can, and try to help as much as possible. So the first thing we were going to talk about today was the training framework which we uploaded yesterday for people with limited equipment, and also just give an overview of like training principles which are going to be useful over this period of time in general. So like I suppose from there we'll just break down the training program and just go through the logic that we use to get to the system or format that we have right now. So share screen. Share. Yeah, so I think this is essentially the format, right? So as of now, what we've been trying to do with people with limited equipment is just come to a sort of structure which will allow us to continue to train, which will continue to resistance train with whatever equipment we have, while focusing on different kinds of work which should give us benefit when we get back to training in the gym, which is why most of our sessions now involve skill work, just to try and work on weak points that people would have. And yeah, from there, this is all going to be adjusted depending on each individual. So that's why we have things written in like horizontal press, squatting, and hip hinge, because your coach, or if you don't have a coach, you'll just be adjusting that depending on whether you have, access to barbells, dumbbells, fucking bands, buckets of water, I don't know. And from there, each week we'll be updating this to try and overload it and progress it as the weeks go on. So one of the things we'll be overloading over the course of the next few weeks will be your isometric work or the circuit. So this work here and the supersets, they will be progressing and becoming more difficult as the sessions go on. Yeah, that's the basis of how it's going to work. Should I actually wait for Alex before we do this?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because also, probably give people a little bit more time to actually come into the stream, because it's in the first 5 minutes and I feel like we've pretty much gone through the majority of it.
Yeah.
I'd hate for people to come in, then they miss the entire part we actually want them to see, and then just kind of going at it. So what do we have in the chat? Says Jackie says well. Al Curtin says yurt. Gary says
Nice.
yo, and that he only came for Alex. So he's gonna be a bit disappointed.
Yeah, this worked out poorly. This worked out poorly for you, my friend.
Gary Holland said Schmally be late to his own funeral. And Paddy Garvey and Owen Turner say hi as well. There you go. So yeah, I suppose the intent of this whole this live stream today is just to go through the program like we're doing. The coup is here. Is to go through the intent of the program. Go through the intent of the program. That's what Steve thinks of himself. Go through the intent of the program, and answer any questions you'll all have about it.
Yeah, I think something that's underplayed right now is just how fucking class Zoom is. Yeah, like I'm able to turn my background into whatever I want. Loads of things this can be. So that's pretty sick. If I had a proper green screen right now, it'd be like faded into the background.
My beard went. Disappeared.
Oh, Alex is here. Fuck. Give me a sec. I'll put him in. He's in the chat. Give me a sec. We got him. Where'd he go? It's Alex.
Look at him. Thrilled.
Alex, turn on your mic.
And everything, to be honest.
Shit. Okay.
Jeez, look at his head. Go on.
I was watching this the whole time and I thought I was in it. And I was talking. Oh, I guess. I was
just us totally ignoring you.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was busy shitting the bed because I didn't know what to do when you didn't get here, so I like ruined the whole like layout that we had made.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well.
It's class. Yeah, lads.
Okay.
I'm also not able to connect to. What?
What did I miss?
So I broke down the program entirely on my own, terribly. So I suppose we could go back and do that again and actually explain it properly. Yeah, and then start breaking down training during lockdown.
Okay, sounds good.
Sweet. So also I'm not able to use the live chat, so give me a sec. Oh, I forgot that this works differently too. Give me a sec. Yeah, so will we restart from here?
Yeah. I'd say to start from the top.
Cool.
Everyone's here. So everyone's settled down with their drinks. They're
fantastic.
Ready to go.
Cool. Welcome to the Alex, Jack, and Steven show with Alex, Jack, and Steven.
Class.
So, yeah, sort of like the intent of this over the next while, is just going to be to provide as much value as we can over this period of lockdown. And just try and create a community that can be useful to everyone while we are all missing that physical body of a gym right now. So a large part of this, we have content planned out that should hopefully be helpful to everyone, but it's going to be an interactive project, which is why we're trying to live stream things, which will get better as we go along, so that people can interact with us and we can find out what everyone needs and what will be useful to people. So that way, hopefully, it should provide sort of use and value. So I suppose something maybe to talk about before we go into break down the program would just be how your own training is going and how you've been finding adjusting to this period. So how have you been finding it, Alex?
Honestly, it's obviously for me, it's probably a lot different for most people in terms of like, I got to bring a whole rack and like a lot of plates and stuff home, but there was a lot of things that I did find that I couldn't do as well at the same time. So there was a lot of things that I had to kind of improvise with and just kind of work around, you know what I mean? So that's kind of one of the biggest things as to why I think this program would be so useful as well at the same time, because there'll be even some of this stuff inside it that I think I'll be implementing into my own training as well as that,
Yeah, for sure. How have you been finding it, Jack?
I've been finding it all right. Like just the more changing environment is probably the bigger thing in my head, because just because I live in basically an apartment, so you can see basically the whole fucking lot of it there. Like, so this room is now a living room, a kitchen, a dining room, and a gym. So being able to go from basically binge watching like Avengers movies to training is kind of weird. So it's like that was probably the biggest hurdle of just getting into the right frame of mind for getting into training. But like the actual training itself has been fairly seamless. Like it's in my training the last couple of blocks since I started working with a coach was like it's very like barbell dependent. Like he doesn't. It's all basically squat, bench, and deadlift, and getting your volume through that way. So like I didn't really need that much equipment to carry out the program. So it's been going really well. Like I actually kind of like training at home. It's there's something a little bit different about it. It's like I'm much more likely to I don't know like analyze my previous set to try and make improvements going forward. Whereas how like if I'm in a more social environment, I typically like do a set and then I go off and go chat to people because that's more interesting than looking at your last video,
Yeah.
No, it's just different. It's really different. How have you found it?
Like it's going okay. Like I suppose I'll always be someone who prioritizes coaching over lifting. So I've the first few weeks I found tough just because my mental space anytime I thought of training just went to try like just the struggles that everyone else was having. So it was like sort of like just hammering my motivation a bit, seeing other people struggling. I am lucky to have equipment, so it is coming back around. I'm definitely someone who benefits a lot from a social setting. Like not having Jack Kenny to pull me through all my sessions is definitely impacting me. Just when sessions get tough, like it is becoming way easier to bail without everyone forcing me to finish sessions and like bitching out. So it is a bit more difficult, but no, it is coming back around. And yeah, I just view myself as very sort of privileged right now to have bars and plates, so I'm trying to make the most of it, because I think particularly right now one of the things that is going to be most important to everyone is like how productive they can make this period of time, like in terms of the intent you can put into it. It doesn't matter whether you have a full setup of competition equipment, whether you have 2 dumbbells, whether you have literally nothing except 1 resistance band. The intent you put into this period is going to be what sort of determines where you come out the other side. And I think I'd be a hypocrite right now if I didn't try to make the most of everything I had and then was trying to was trying to advise other lifters to put as much intent into training as they can, even in a compromised position. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest thing driving me, but it's been okay. Like it's been okay.
Yeah, that's part of what I'm quite looking forward to with this kind of series, because we're over the next few weeks we're planning to get people who are more educated on different topics than us to talk about those topics. So like stuff like motivation, because I think we're all at different levels of motivation, or like motivation with training. In a similar sense, like I don't really operate too much off motivation. It's just this is just kind of a thing I do because it's like second nature. So in a similar sense to you, that you found it hard to that you've felt obliged to almost train to be able to empathize with people who can't. Do you know what I mean? I find it tougher because like I'm not too worried about motivation, like but I know a lot of my lifters do struggle with that. So it's just being able to empathize a bit more with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think right now is this period of time is going to be like for the people who come out the other side of all of this, they're going to come out with a much different perspective, and we're probably all going to be a lot more grateful for what we once had in the gym in terms of this, you know, the community and the support that we all had.
100%.
You know, things will definitely take a hit, and things are going to get a lot worse before they get better, but the community that comes out the other side of this is definitely going to be the best that we've ever seen, in many aspects like that, you know, in terms of the support and how little we take for granted. Probably just the desire to train, because one thing that I'm seeing a lot with people from CityGym, with how innovative everyone's becoming with training, like, you know, seeing fucking Niall Curtin still flake into full bodybuilding sessions with what looks like half a dumbbell, and like, you know, Turner squatting off bins for the first 2 weeks of this. You know, it's like, I think we're going to, like, you know, there's a lot of hunger there, which over this period of time, it'll probably be make or break for a lot of people. And I think it's making a lot of our members, which I'm very proud of, like, and very just glad to see, you know, seeing people 100%. Still go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking my live chat's just come back. So just after seeing Turner say that I look like I could compete as a sub junior without a beard, which is
where is this live chat? Oh, there we
it's
go.
on YouTube.
Go on YouTube, yeah.
I found it.
And yeah, Kieran Murray, you can definitely get love and affection from a socially distant and responsible distance. But and guys, one thing as well, so at the end of this, what we'll be doing is sort of a small Q&A if people have any questions that you want answered. So if there's anything that's been on your mind that you'd like answered in this sort of a format between the three of us, just let us know in that, or just message us and we'll go through those at the end of it. But yeah, like, fucking yeah, I think now would probably be a good time to go through the actual training program that we made in full, because we do have most people here, so it might be an idea.
Who do you think this is? Cos Balls 2008. Who do you think that is?
No idea. Who wants us to take our tops off? No fucking clue. That could be.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I'd say we'll go through that now. One sec. I just want to change my background again. So yeah, there we go.
What?
Perfect. Yeah, you can do loads of fucking cool shit with this, man.
How do you do that?
Get the green screens. So go into, you see beside video, there's like an arrow. You could choose virtual background, then you could choose things off like your phone and laptop.
This definitely could have been done beforehand.
Yeah. If Alex had been on time.
Sorry.
Oh, you can't. I don't know. Can you do it on your phone?
I don't know.
Find out first there, Alex. Okay. So I'm going to start sharing this. I'm going to start sharing the screen and we'll go through the program now. So
sweet.
Yeah,
let's do it.
That should be good. Cool. So here we are, program. So yeah, I went through this terribly at the start. So what I'll do is I'll break it down more in depth, break down the thinking that we used to come to it. And then we'll talk about how this will be usable for people over the next few weeks. So yeah, this program is essentially, it starts off as a 4 or 5 day a week session, a training template. So it's going to be 3 upper days and 2 lower days. What we're trying to aim for here over the course of the next while is utilizing exercise selection and training modalities that we don't normally use in the gym, because that's where we have more or less decided we'd get our most effective training stimulus out of. Because like when we're training, the probably most important training principle we have would be that of progressive overload. You know, over time you have to keep increasing what you do to get better. So whether that's more sets, more reps, more weight, it has to get better. For people with limited equipment and limited weight right now, there's not a whole pile of progression you can do in your competition lifts, because as powerlifters, you've got so good at those inside the gym, in most cases, that you can't progress it at home because you don't have the equipment to do it. So here, what we're looking to do is pick different kinds of training that we might necessarily have the time or energy to focus on in the gym. So the skill work that we have at the start of sessions is based out of work which will be indirectly useful to your powerlifting. So it might necessarily lead to immediate increases in strength, right? But the focus that we have for now is on upper body mobility and stability, which will carry over to your bench. It should carry over to like your stability on squats, with bar placement. For your lower body, what we've been focusing on is hip mobility and stability, which is just going to be, which should be useful for injury prevention down the line, and also just in terms of helping learn like the techniques of bracing that we use in our big three. So that's why the focus is there. And right now is a really good opportunity to put a lot of intent into these things while we don't necessarily have like long sessions to do in the gym that would take the focus away from it. A lot of these things are sort of good warm-up principles that you would use for training normally, but it's just allowing us to prioritize them and really break them down more. Yeah. So that's that. Do you want to take some of the rest of it, Alex, or?
Like, you pretty much cleared up everything there, really. Like, I don't,
yeah, just with the skill work or the kind of mobilization work. So it'll basically like improve your, whatever you want to call it, mobility and stability in certain areas. So say being able to create a better shelf for the bar for squats can lead to you being able to basically tighten your back or keep control of your back throughout the whole movement. So that will mean at more maximal weights, you probably won't experience as much, potentially you won't experience as much breakdown and can produce more force into the bar. So that's how these kind of feed back into like top end strength. They mightn't, like, they obviously don't make your legs stronger, but they basically allow you to stay together and like stay in more advantageous positions for longer. That'll be along the rationale of like how these would be useful towards top end strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And something as well that we took into account with this training program or this training framework, because it's not necessarily a program as such, because it will vary so wildly between what different people are doing depending on what's available to you, right? In terms of equipment. We broke it up into skill work. Then you basically have like your strength work, or what would be your traditional sessions, which is, you know, your horizontal pressing movements, squatting, hip hinging. The third part of the program that we'll have, which is probably the part that will get overloaded the most, is the part that will be colored in bluer at the bottom of your program, which is going to be the conditioning work, which is where we're really going to be able to implement some of those kinds of training that we wouldn't normally do. And we've started off with isometric work, taking into account that since we sort of went into lockdown, most people haven't been in a position to train overly hard, you know, through, you know, all the changes that have been happening, lack of motivation, things like that, which would just have stopped us from training hard. So we're starting with isometric work, because isometric work, which is basically static contractions, is a really good way to build work capacity and tolerance to training again without overly fatiguing us. Because let's say if we're going to be doing this now for the course of however long lockdown occurs, we want to be able to progress it over that period of time and not start sort of balls to the walls in something that will have us fatigued after the first week or two. So we'll be starting by using isometric work. And as the sessions go on, we'll be implementing different training principles, from circuit training to blood flow restriction training, which will all allow us to sort of get the best training response we can. And while it mightn't necessarily be ideal, I don't think there is anything sort of ideal about where we find ourselves. So what this is just doing is making the best out of that situation. So it's just like the training is just a bit outside the box, which is where we are right now. And yeah, so if you apply yourself to this and put the most intent you have into this, if this is the sort of training framework we find most useful for you, it should provide people with the best training response that we can have at this time. And yeah, I think that's sort of more or less the training program talked through, because over time, as it evolves and adapts, we'll have more from it. Yeah, Cooney has a question. By adding resistance bands on my PS4 controller playing FIFA, will it make me a better player and improve grip strength? Yes, it will. Most definitely. And I'll come on PS4 later. But yeah, that would definitely work. I mean, it's I'm no scientist, but pretty sure it will.
Makes sense.
Yeah, checks out. I'll let Jesus go home. But yeah, that's more or less where that training framework is.
Yeah, and the choice of, you kind of went through the blue section, but not as much the green. So the push-ups, the inverted rows, and the exerter squats. Maybe we'll go through those because those are pretty important too.
Yeah.
Even how to overload them, because we have there's a certain intent for those as well.
Yeah. I won't fucking share the screen for those again because it just looks a bit gammy. But with those, I suppose, in terms of the overload of them, what we're looking for basically is variations that we're looking for the most effective variation that we can find with the equipment you have. So for a lot of people right now, if you don't have access to competition racks and barbells, that's going to be some form of a front loaded squat, whether it's a goblet squat, a Zercher squat, something to that effect. And if you have a capped out amount of weight, so let's say you only have a finite amount of weight available to you, there's different ways of overloading these exercises apart from just progressing the actual weight used. So manipulating those variables is going to be pretty big. So one of the biggest variables that you can use to overload these will be two of the biggest ones will be your range of motion and your tempo, which will increase the difficulty of these exercises if you periodize it over time. So for a lot of these exercises, if you cap out the equipment you have, increasing the tempo will increase the difficulty of it, which will sort of keep allowing you to progress through the exercise. And using those kinds of variables will allow you to keep moving that way. And was there any sort of particular variables you wanted to talk through in depth on it?
Maybe picking out how to make some of those variables more difficult. So say, for example, with a push-up, the obvious way that we kind of forgot about is either using bands, so having bands around your back and around your arms, using something like push-up handles, which will allow you to get a longer range of motion, or just loading up a school bag with as much heavy objects from the house as possible, and then doing push-ups that way. And then maybe the rationale behind picking the movements we did. So the main movements that I can think of that we're using for these are push-ups, Zercher squats. Is it a Nordic curl we're using for a kind of hip hinge?
Yeah, so it's Nordic curls or hip hinging, basically depending on what equipment people have available to them. So that's all going to be scalable to again, the equipment you have. So using for our hip hinging movements, we picked either hip hinges or Nordic curls or hamstring curls, because you might be able to do hip hinging movements. Let's say you have a set of dumbbells, and let's say you're a 200 kilo deadlifter, you have a 20 kilo set of dumbbells. The amount of damage you're going to be able to do to yourself and the amount of a training effect you get out of that will probably be less than if you pick a more difficult variation of a hamstring curl. So what we're looking to do is get to a particular zone of exertion. So the reps in reserve we picked were between between, oh, I wrote it in wrong. So we're looking for between sort of 3 to 4 reps in reserve on those movements. So if it's not possible to get to that through a certain movement, what we're looking to do is either pick a different movement that's going to be more difficult to allow us to get to that exertion zone. So that's going to increase the difficulty of it. Or then overload it through whichever means we have. Most people have been getting pretty creative with that, which is good. So yeah, using things that are available to you, like using a school bag that you've loaded up, using resistance bands if you have resistance bands. Things to that effect will allow us to increase the difficulty of an exercise over time.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's going to be the primary focus of that. And something that all of this should be done with quality of movement in mind. So trying to move with the most movement quality possible. If you have areas that you have tended to fall down on in the gym, like if your core bracing is an issue, if sort of keeping back tightness on bench is an issue, shoulder tightness. These are all areas that you can really break down right now because there's no major timelines. We don't know when the next competition is going to be. We're not in gyms. There's no major rush to be trying to progress to the most difficult thing possible. Now is going to be a great time to set ourselves up for the future. So working on movement quality over everything else is going to be one of the first things people could do, which will probably make things a lot more difficult than you expect. And yeah, that's more or less the extent of what I had to go through on the program, unless there's anything else. We've went through the 3 different parts of it. I actually think we fucked up the file because we only uploaded week 1 and then now everyone's downloaded it. So I think they only have week 1 now. So I think we have to redo that again with the rest of the weeks.
What do you mean everyone's downloaded it?
People have downloaded that file.
How? Did you share it?
Yeah, through the website.
Oh, right. I thought that was on our own basis. Yeah, no, that's definitely not the case. We've only done week 1.
Yeah, sorry guys. I think we fucked up. So yeah,
is this a taster and not like just a demo?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Intro.
Yeah, it's a demo, but the rest of it's also free and exactly the same thing. We just made a big mistake. Yeah, but yeah, so that's good. That's like Saturday's thing to go through. But yeah, we're gonna have a full file uploaded for next week to go through. This is but you all have week 1 to train on. But yeah, we'll get this. But yeah, and then as we continue to move through these weeks as well, one of the big things I want to do is provide value to people, or like just produce content on what people want or feel they could sort of upskill on. So if there's particular areas of training that you feel we could cover, definitely let us know.
Yeah.
So for this week, essentially what we're going to be doing is going through different principles to do with training. So on Thursday evening, we are going to be interviewing PG Unfit and Jack Evie, who have done a research breakdown around detraining and areas around that, which will be quite useful right now to everyone. So we're going to be doing a research breakdown on that. And then
Paddy Garvey is an expert in detraining.
Yeah.
He is a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made 1-person case study on detraining, which will be
class.
But and then next week we'll be going through like content to do with our mindset and psychology. So we'll be getting a sports psychologist on and interviewing them, talk about, you know, the sort of pitfalls and obstacles we're going to be facing over the next while. And yeah, from there we'll be producing content just depending on what people need. So the more interactive we sort of all are, the better this will become. Because yeah, Paddy Garvey, I'll show you how to lose gains. Follow the PG Unfit Turbo.
Please don't.
But the thing that I'm most interested to see after all of this is see Paddy write off all the savage progress he's making during lockdown with 3 nights out once pubs in Headford reopen.
605 is coming.
Paddy, I'll race you to a 500 kilo total at 120. But yeah, like I suppose with this with this project, just the more people let us know, the more we'll be able to do, because we've essentially just shot from the hip here. We're trying to move in ways that we think will just be useful to people. So yeah, that sort of is about it. Do you guys have anything else you want to go through on this, or?
Not really. Like, not anything I can think off the top of my head. Like,
because we prepared so much notes for this one.
So many.
But I think the main things we just wanted to cover in this one was talk through the training framework, talk through the ideas behind this, and then just sort of briefly talk about training, which I think we sort of done. So I think we'll leave everyone off to do whatever better things they had to do with their evening there. But and Garrett, just remind us, shout out to Garrett, that there's also a question submission form on the members area of the website. So if for people who have looked at the membership area, if you just go on to if you go on to that, at the bottom of it there is a question submission form. If you have any topics you want us to go through, you can submit them there. And yeah, sweet, sure. Yeah, I think that's about it. On Thursday evening, we will be going through that research breakdown with Paddy Garvey and Jack Heavey. So that should be good. And yeah, I think that is about it. Thank you all for tuning in, guys and girls.
Thanks, lads.
See you later.
See you later. Bye, guys.